What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning in to this very, very special live stream interview here on Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. Y'all, we got a special guest in the building, okay? Some of you all may know her as former Senator Nina Turner. Some of you all may know her as former president of our revolution, Nina Turner. Some of you who frequent this channel might know her as Nina Turn Up, but everybody else, y'all know I always call her Auntie Nina. How are you doing, Nina? How are you doing?
I'm fine, Niko. How are you?
I'm surviving. I'm surviving. I still have my health, right? I'm not complaining.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to go ahead and get right into it. It has been a crazy 5 years for you. Crazy 5 years.
Yeah.
Right in front of our eyes, we've really seen you go from being a politician to an activist, like a full-blown activist. And honestly, it's kind of awesome to see. I feel like we haven't really seen that transition in any other of our political leaders, and so it's been pretty awesome to see. Now, with that seems to come some responsibility. And I've watched a lot of your other interviews as of late. It seems like you take that responsibility seriously. So obviously, Joe Biden is the nominee now. And I think a lot of people, because of you being a surrogate for Bernie Sanders' campaign, they expected you, and not only you, but the rest of the campaign, to fall in line. However, that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, when we've heard other people say this in the past, they say, that means you're automatically supporting Trump if you do not come out and support Biden right now and promise you'll vote for him. To those people, what do you say?
It doesn't mean that. I mean, this is a representative democracy, and we should take that very seriously. And it can't be a representative democracy only when certain folks want it to be. This really is a moment where we need vision and provision. Those two things must go hand in hand. And so it is very true that Mr. Donald Trump, number 45 himself, is the worst president in modern history. Yes, that goes without saying. He also must be stopped. That goes without saying too. But what I'm about to say is not mutually exclusive. We can both want to stop Mr. Trump and also demand of the Democratic nominee vision and provision, standing up for the poor and the working poor and the barely middle class in this country. And, serving as a 2020 co-chair, national co-chair for Senator Bernie Sanders, and as you laid out, Niko, this has been awesome. It's been an awesome 5 years. It's been a heavy 5 years. And yes, usually politicians start as activists, which I do have an activist background in my college days that sometimes I reminisce about. But you're absolutely right. The activist side of me has gotten stronger and stronger over the last 5 years, and I'm very proud of that. But people should have the ability, the responsibility, Niko. It is our responsibility to make demands of those who want to serve in government, and whether that's dog catcher the president of the United States of America. So although Senator Sanders has suspended his campaign, the things that we were fighting for, Niko, still remain the same. There is still a need for Medicare for all. And oh my God, if this pandemic doesn't show that to us in a deeper way. I mean, 17 million of our closest family and friends have already filed for unemployment. It is going to climb. Some predict it will be higher than what it was during the Great Depression of the 1920s. We still need a Green New Deal. Folks still need clean water, clean food, and clean air. We still need criminal justice reform. Hello, somebody. So, Niko, those that those of us on the progressive left have been fighting for are still realities. And so people do have a right to make some demands. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, especially for you, for example, and the rest of the Bernie Sanders campaign, you all really, really wanted to get Trump out so bad that you actually supported the candidate who polled best against him. And that brings me to my next question. There was a lot of backlash, specifically in a very unique way against you and Breonna Joy Gray, the former national press secretary for the campaign. And the backlash, like I said, it wasn't the normal kind of backlash. They weren't critiquing the policies you were talking about. They weren't critiquing, any of your stances, anything that legislation that you may have introduced. It seemed like they were constantly attacking your character. And it seems like, honestly, they were taking advantage of tropes that have been assigned to Black women and Black people in general, rather than engaging you all in the substance of the conversation. For a Democratic Party who claims that Black women are the backbone of the party, can you explain to me the hypocrisy that we have seen taking place, and honestly, the unwillingness for other people of color and Black people on the left and in the Democratic Party to challenge this in any substantive way when you are being attacked in the way that you've been attacked on Twitter and other places?
Well, Niko, it is beyond shameful, but I will definitely keep it PG. The fact that Brianna Joy Gray and myself, certainly endured a lot of racism, sexism, and you're absolutely right. It is hypocrisy for a party that says that Black women are the backbone, trust Black women. You've seen all those hashtags, but when it comes to Black women on the progressive left, the rules of the game are different. And Bree, Joy, and myself had to endure some of those vile comments on our personhood. As you just said, let's have the debate about policy. Let's have the debate about issues. But no, they wanted to debate our humanity, try to strip that away. And unfortunately, it is acceptable in this climate if you are, in fact, a progressive Black woman. If we were neoliberal Black women, if we were the corporatist wing of the Democratic Party, people would be crying bloody murder, but they are not. And so thank God for the movement. Thank God for people like you and others. Thank God for people like Kyle, people like Tim Black, you name them. Thank God for those kinds of people who stand up all the time. Jimmy Dore, you guys, David. I mean, my God, the list goes on and on. Crystal Ball, for example, who really stands up. And there's so many others. So I hate that I was dropping names because some people are going to say, oh, she didn't drop my name. But the people on the progressive left, both people who have shows like you and other people who only have their social media to fight back, they have stood up for us very strongly, and we really do appreciate it. The people who do those kinds of things, they're no better than folks that were doing it in the 20th century, the 19th century, the 18th century. Every single attempt in this country historically to dehumanize Black bodies, whether they be women or men, but to dehumanize and to take away our ability to have control over our mind, our thoughts, what we believe, what we think, how we relate to the world, our agency. That's the way I'm going to sum it up. And so it is wrong, whether it happens to women on the progressive left and even on the very conservative right. I might not agree with Black folks who are over there, but let's just stick to the issues and not attack them personally, but especially for the Democratic Party, Niko. And I know that's why you're asking that question, because they enjoy almost 100% of the Black vote. But yet when it comes to a certain type of Black woman, it is okay to tear us down. But that's all right, baby. I come from, my mama was a preacher, Niko, so I went to church 8 days a week, baby. I got a PhD in Black church. You hear me?
What? Oh, really? I would have never guessed that. I would have never guessed.
That really sticks to me, and there are many, but number one, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Hello, somebody. I carry that with me all the time. And I do want to shout out my sister, Brianna Joy Gray, who was brilliant in every stretch of the imagination and was holding it down on the campaign and is still holding it down. And certainly the best is yet to come for her. And Absolutely. For me, as a leader in this movement, baby, I ain't going nowhere. Yes, I said I am on a mission. I am on assignment to lift, to push, and to continue to help people to see that there is promise in the problem. And Niko, thank you for asking that, because people don't usually ask those types of questions. But thank you so much for recognizing what has happened to people like myself and Bree Joy, and there are other Black women fighters.
Dr. Dooley went through it.
Yeah, Dr. Dooley, absolutely.
And it's crazy to me because I'm like, Corey Bush going through the same thing. And it's crazy to me because you're a medical doctor, a former senator, one of the most brilliant minds in independent media, and et cetera. And then they never get past Bree looks like a child, or that infamous comment, the misfit Black woman. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this can't be life, because if this was coming from the Republicans, hell would be breaking loose. But they let our own quote unquote go on MSNBC, CNN, and the like, and just completely denigrate you all without ever engaging in the substance of the issues, nor, and it's crazy because they were always, you know, the Bernie bro narrative, and they were demanding that Bernie kind of shut you all down for not doing anything other than speaking the truth. And whenever I mean, I've seen some memes and some pictures and some tweets that I want to throw up in my mouth. I almost jumped to the computer.
Remember that? You saw that they made us Diamond and Silk.
Yeah, and again, I couldn't believe it.
I don't care for Diamond and Silk's politics, but I do respect their right in America to do just what they're doing. I don't have to agree with it. Yeah, you're right, Niko. Let's debate the substance of the issues. I do question, you know, supporting somebody like President Trump, but let's debate that issue and not try to strip them of their humanity, because people talk against them too in ways that is unbecoming for a 21st century mindset, especially when you understand the microaggressions that happen to Black people every single day of our lives from the moment that we have been born. Baby, we were born into one big pile of microaggressions. And so your political association should not determine how people are going to treat you. I say debate the issue. So Silk and Diamond, again, have a right to do that. I don't agree with their positions, but I would be willing to debate them on various issues and not try to strip away their humanity. I think it's wrong. And so by them making a meme of Rejoy and myself as Silk and Diamond, that was an insult. They meant that as an insult. They tried to make us a caricature.
A racially charged.
Yeah, and
a racially charged insult.
It's like Aunt Jemima, you know, for example. And so we cannot allow these people to get away with this, to try to sanitize the way that they are treating women like myself and Bree Joy and any other. Like I said, I don't do that. You know, let's fight the issue. I'm gonna fight you now hard on the issue, but I will try.
I know you all. The first time I had ever heard you speak to a crowd in person, the first thing you opened up with was hard on policy and soft on, hard on policy, soft
hard
on
the issues, soft on people.
And for me, now I generally go hard on both, but it was kind of like something because you're so passionate and you are like, you go hard on the policy and you are not shy about that. Okay. But you do go soft on people. I've seen you on these panels sometimes and I'm kind of like, Nina is keeping her. Now, granted, Auntie, I ain't gonna lie to you. You are not good at hiding how you actually are thinking in your head at the time. Your mannerisms, your face be showing your whole thought process. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's better that my face show it than I speak the words that are literally in my head. Okay.
So speaking of hard on policy, soft on issue, I have to ask you this. So, as you know, I was a Tulsi Gabbard surrogate in 2020. You and Tulsi, this is somebody you call your sister.
Yeah, and we're friends. Tulsi and I are friends.
I still remember, y'all met up in Iowa and hung out and y'all even did some activism together in between 2020 and 2016, right? In Hawaii.
I traveled to Hawaii and went to, I believe it was 4 or 5 islands, and Sister Tulsi was right there with me. I think we did that
in having a good time.
16 or 17 to help the Democratic Party, the Hawaii Democratic Party. Imagine that, So for all of these people, especially the diehard Democrats, who always want to talk against me, little do they know, I did this kind of thing as president of our revolution. I am a member of the from the great state of Ohio. Not that I need to be any of those things, but let's go on and set the record straight while we have.
Well, I know. That's what I said. You and Tulsi have done a lot more for the Democratic Party than what they'll give y'all credit for.
And the bravery it took for her, we all know what she did in 2016, and she had every right to. Listen, we don't always agree, but that's not the that shouldn't be prerequisite for a relationship, at least in my book. That two people.
Yeah, you don't always agree with Senator Sanders either, and you made that clear.
Right. And I respect the senator immensely. On the battlefield with him for almost 6 years now. Very proud of our campaign, and more importantly than the campaign, the movement that was built.
Look, there were at least 3 other candidates on running for president who cited the movement you all started in 2015, 2016 as the reason they were inspired to run. That's an achievement in and of itself. I do have a question for you. Yeah. There were people who, even some surrogates, I don't think that you like them very much. I don't know, but I didn't see you around them a lot, and there's probably a reason for that. But these particular surrogates thought that somehow it would be helpful to smear Tulsi Gabbard. Once again, nothing about policy, right? It was all about herself, her religious background, you know, her past, her evolution. And we all know that Tulsi fights for, they almost fight for identical domestic causes with very few variations. So what do you say to people who thought that somehow they were helping the senator achieve his goals by smearing one of his most closest and loyal allies who would come to his defense time and time again during the election?
We all have a past, Niko. We all, are here on this earth, and hopefully we grow day to day, month to month, year by year, and hopefully things change over time for the better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, I didn't necessarily, I don't agree with smearing, people like that at all. Tulsi is a sister, she is a friend, and again, she doesn't have to always agree. Her and Senator Sanders are in good standing, so none of that stuff makes sense at all. And I just really think that we have to find different ways of disagreeing with one another without tearing people down. All of us, I was raised as a Christian. Some people might look at my religion and say, oh my God.
God-fearing.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I was raised. And there were some things that I was taught in this religion that I don't subscribe to today, because as a grown, maturing woman and somebody that got to see certain issues through a different lens, I was able to juxtaposition new information with my belief and my connection with God. It's called evolution. Now, everybody doesn't necessarily do that, but some people do. And so we have to give room for that kind of stuff. So listen, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is all right in my book, and she knows that.
Amen. There's something to be said as well that we saw the way the establishment coalesced around each other at the most pivotal moment in the election. And for some people to think that it would be better for Bernie Sanders to be on an island rather than keep his allies close. Remember that when we do critique each other as allies. I just don't understand what the logic was, because we saw that, them coalescing worked out pretty well for them, unfortunately for us. And I feel like that's something that we do have to remember going forward. And so I do appreciate those words. Really quick, I know you only got a couple of minutes left, so I want to ask you. Go ahead.
May I say one thing about the coalition? I do have a message for the progressive movement, that we have to be more agile. We have to be more agile. We have to come together and form a pact about the things that we agree with, without losing our individual organization's identity, but that we come up with a list of things that we say, okay, come hell or high water, these are the things that we're going to push for. What we were not able to do as the corporate Democrats coalesced, we weren't agile enough. We didn't move quick enough, and therefore we got what we got. So moving forward, because what has happened, but what are the lessons for the progressive left? That we have to organize. We have to form a pact with one another. We have to set our issues and our intentions, and we have to come together. And that's for all levels of government. We already know that the playing field is not level. It is not. Yes, the system is rigged. That was true when Senator was running. It is still true now. It is rigged politically, socially, economically, environmentally. You fill in the blank. It is. But I do believe if the rainbow mosaic of conscious-minded people come together, there is no mountain that we cannot move. From an organizational structure, though, so that's individuals coming together, but from an organizational structure, we need progressive organizations to align strongly. Let's pick our top 10 issues, and let's get together and show pure strength in that we both understand we must defeat President Donald Trump, but we don't have to give up on making sure that people have Medicare for all, making sure we have a Green New Deal, making sure that the essential workers that are on the front line every single day. And Niko, Reverend William Barber, he talked about, him and I had a conversation about how the essential workers don't have essentially what they need. That store clerk, the person that works in the drugstore, the truck driver, the Amazon worker that's dropping off those packages. Let's make sure they have paid sick and family medical leave. Let's make sure that they have the health care that they need to be able to live a good life. Let's understand that Miss Corona, as one of my southern mentors called for COVID, that Medicare, healthcare just cannot be attached to a job, Niko. That's just plain and simple. That people certainly deserve better than what they're getting. And we can do all of those things. Brother Frederick Douglass once said, and I'm paraphrasing, Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will. This is about power, and this is about who has that power, and it's about how they wield that power. Do they wield that power on behalf of the people, or do they wield that power on behalf of other special interests? Are you the individual that lives in Cleveland, Ohio, or Chicago, Illinois, or Los Angeles, California, or Flint, Michigan? Are you the special interest? Or is it somebody that's in the 1%? We got to ask ourselves those questions.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Hopefully when you say people will listen. I've said this and people call me crazy. They said that, you know, the other side of the enemy, if they're not working with my campaign at the time or working in my organization at the time. And I 100% agree with you. From the beginning, I've said, hey, we have to do this together. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but they've been working together to implement policies and push efforts to separate us and undermine all the progress we've made thus far. And we can't let them win. The only way we can stop them from winning is to work together. And I do think that as a movement, we did fall a little bit short, but I do believe that there is some hope going forward. We do have leaders like yourself. We still have leaders like Bree. We still have leaders like Tulsi. And I hope that, you know, Senator Sanders continues to fight hard in the Senate. Really quick before we go, I know you only got a couple of minutes. I want to know really quick, people are really down in dumps right now, understandably so. It's hard to kind of see the path forward. And I think that the COVID virus is also kind of taking its toll on people's morale. What message do you have for people who feel a little lost right now, who feel like they don't know who to trust right now, who feel a little bit down in the dumps as far as they don't know who to trust next and where we're going, or who's going to be the next leader? What message do you have for them?
That this is indeed a very heavy moment, and that every feeling, every human instinct that they have about the heaviness of this moment is real. So let it flow. But know this, that not only is there promise in the problem, but that we have been here before. Put yourself in the position of our foremothers and fathers who had to live through the Great Depression. We have been here before. If you are African American, put yourself in the position of our ancestors who had to endure in this country being chattel slavery, and generations of them not ever seeing or believing that freedom would come. But they continue to work generation after generation, fighting for a freedom that they themselves may have never seen. That every generation builds on the next. That we are going to come through this. Think about any great movements, the gay rights movement, the women's rights movement, you name it, child labor laws that had to come to bear in this country. Think of any great movement. I want you to wrap your mind around that and know that even though those problems were heavy at that time, redlining, I mean, name it, trying to stop people from voting, whatever that problem is and that challenge is, I want you to think about it from a historical perspective and measure what was with what is, and then what can be. And so we are fighting right now in this moment. We understand what is. COVID-19 is serious and it's real, and you got to take care of yourself, self-care. Do the things that you can do as an individual to stop the spread, right? That's number one. But then there's some communal things that we can do. Join a group virtually. Subscribe to Niko House. Come on, somebody. Subscribe to other progressive networks, independent networks. And I'm calling them networks deliberately. Do something good. Meditate, write. Use this time to get closer with yourself and with your community, even if it is virtually, and dare to dream a bigger dream about what it looks like on the other side. We are going to get through this. It's going to be some pain, no doubt, but we will get through this. Think on.
Amen.
I mean, Niko, I can just continue to go on. We're going to get through this.
I know it.
And I'm here to help us get through this. Let me tell you, on the political front, I am helping to lead. I am a leader in this movement, and we are not going to stop. But I don't want people, Niko, I want people to know that it is within them to do a good thing. I always say titles are good, but purpose is better. The Reverend Dr. Martin King Jr.
Oh, say it again. Say it again.
Titles are good, but purpose is better. And we all
Do
have
you watch Nick? Do you watch my show, Nina? Do you watch my show? And you about to bring them on. I tell people all the time, stop worrying about these titles, stop worrying about that office. I said the best movements are focused but decentralized.
We can do it, you know, and we all can be great because we all can serve. That's what the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said. So we're going to get through this. You're going to be heavy. You're going to go through stages of grief because there's a lot of fear in this moment, both on the political side, but also on the individual side. What is happening to me and my family? What is the future going to bring with COVID? All of the unknowns is natural. I want everybody to know it's natural. You're not by yourself, but also think about what good you can do where you are with what you have right now. That's real too. So we're going to get through this, Niko. You best believe that, baby. We're going to
Amen. Amen. And I want to thank you for putting that onus on yourself to be a leader of a movement that may be fractured, but we're still here. And in my opinion, we're still strong. And I think that people are just waiting patiently. And I do believe that by the end of this, we will get through. We will rebuild those bridges. And let me just say, and I'm sure you've heard this a lot, but hell, it can't hurt to hear it again. As an activist on the ground, as an independent media journalist, we had 4 arguably progressive campaigns with Senator Sanders, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, Marianne Williamson, and Andrew Yang. The one thing that all of them had in common, despite a plethora of disagreements across the board, was their love, affection, and adoration for Auntie Nina Turner. And in my opinion, that says a hell of a lot about the way you have somehow, by being ideologically consistent, sure, but you've somehow managed to project your intentions as pure, project yourself as trustworthy, project yourself as a leader, and project yourself as immovable in your convictions in a way that truthfully none of the candidates could, and almost none of the other leaders or surrogates in those movements could. And that value, in my opinion, the fact that you're willing to take that responsibility, do the right thing, right? You followed your own path and you did the right thing, and you're now saying, but we're not done yet. This isn't about me. This isn't about the next title. It's about my career. So I, on behalf of the progressive movement, on behalf of the populist movements, and on behalf of activists on the ground, want to thank you, Auntie Nina.
Thank you, Niko, so much. And to all of you, you are the wind beneath my wings. Please check me out on Twitter at Nina Turner, on the gram, Nina Turner, Ohio. And I want your viewers to know, Niko, I got something very special that is coming down the pipe. They will learn about it really, really soon. But listen, hope springs eternal, baby. We're going to do some things, okay?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for coming on, Nina. Make sure you go follow her on Twitter and follow her on Instagram if you already do not. But for everybody else, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.